Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Cartographers by Peng Shepherd. It might be pronounced Peng Shepherd. I'm not sure. I should know because I've actually met Peng Shepherd at the Phoenix Comic-Con about 4 or 5 years ago. There was a group of us authors gathered in a hotel lobby room. I think there was John Scalzi, myself, Sam Sykes, Christopher Paolini, Peng Shepherd. Anyway, I met her then and talked to her briefly, and it was right before her debut novel, The Book of M, was to come out. And I do have that book somewhere here in my collection, and I will eventually reread it and leave a review. But for now, we're going to be reviewing her newest novel, The Cartographers. We always talk about the covers first, because you know I love graphic design and cover art and illustration, and this has got a great piece of artwork by an artist named Helen Crawford White. It's very striking. It's kind of like bends your mind. It plays with your mind a little bit. It's like plays with perspective and stuff, which is cool for the book because the book itself plays with your mind, screws with your perspective. And it's about maps and cartographers, which is a big selling point for me because I was fascinated with maps as a young kid. 4, 5, 6 years old, growing up in Fairbanks, Alaska, I used to collect maps of New York City, Europe. I'd hang them on my walls. I don't know why. I would study them and imagine what was happening on the streets and in those towns that I was seeing. And I also had a map of Fairbanks, Alaska, where I grew up, which I studied. And whenever we would drive around, I would keep the map with me and I would know exactly what streets we were on. So I was just very obsessed with maps. Now, I think we've gotten away from that as a culture. You know, with Uber and the GPS, we no longer have to find our way around. We can just have the computer do it for us. You know, even when I travel to Europe now, I still buy a physical map of the places I'm going. I still Google everywhere I go before I get there and look at the place on Google Maps. And then when I'm there, I've got a physical map. Not only that, but I've got my GPS. And I think we've gotten rid of that. You know, back in the day when there were actual cab drivers instead of Uber, in London, to become a cab driver, you had to pass this test, which was called the knowledge. And it was, you had to memorize all 30,000 some odd streets in the city of London and its surrounding areas. You had to memorize that before you could become a cab driver. It's crazy. It's one of the hardest tests in the world. But the London cab drivers used to have to do that. We've gotten away from that as a society, and I kind of feel bad about that. Anyway, this book about the cartographers, right up my alley. That's why I wanted to read it quickly and get a review out for you, because I think it's just an absolutely great book. It's got great puzzles in it. It's like very Da Vinci Code-esque in its sort of labyrinthine-esque sort of puzzle put together things, but with maps. It's got some great maps in here. I won't show them to you. There's maps. There's some great maps of New York City. Great old map of 1930s New York State and all the highways on it. It's just wonderful to look at. And also some architectural drawings as well. Let's get into the story. This is about Nell Young. She is a young cartographer. She's just working for a regular old map making company that just makes simple maps. However, her dream was to be a sort of a map restorer, like sort of like old art, like people that restore old artworks. She wanted to work with old rare maps. And the author does such a great job just from the start of giving us a grand picture of what it's like to be into cartography and to deal in rare documents and the presentation and restoration of these. She's gone into great lengths to understand how all of that takes place, the scientific methods behind it, and the history of maps just in general. It's absolutely fantastic. And like I said, it's very Da Vinci Code-esque in that way. And there's puzzles in all the maps. That's the trick of this. So this is more of a plot and idea-driven novel, not so much a character-driven novel, although the characters of Nell and her father and Swan and Nell's boss Humphrey and the other people like Felix and Ramona, even though all of those work fine, well, they're actually good characters as you start to follow them through this sort of quest that they take upon themselves. Anyway, Nell has a strained relationship with her father. Her father is one of the most well-known cartographers ever, and she wants to work with him doing what he does, but he fires her for making a mistake. We won't get into what the mistake is because that's sort of a plot point, but he fires her, and so she just has to go work for this regular old map company. It's almost like working at Kinko's. That's how simplistic it is to her. And she's got some interrelations with her boss and some of the people that work at that place, plus her dreams of becoming this cartographer and her disappointments with disappointing her father. Well, what happens is her father is found dead in his office. And it looks like it's a robbery gone wrong. It could have been a natural death, but they're thinking there's maybe some foul play. Maybe there was a robbery, but nothing's missing. And so then this is where the mystery starts. And we get this great look at this, like I said, a fascinating 1930s highway map of the state of New York that would have gone for sale in gas stations back in the 1930s. Now, the secret behind these maps is in every map that we look at, are there hidden places, streets, closets, hidden dungeons, hidden towns, forests, walkways, roads that lead to nowhere? And these maps, these cartographers put together, are these cartographers been effing with us the whole time? Or do these sort of things they slip into the maps that we're unaware of, do they actually exist? Is there another realm that we don't know of? Is there a phantom place on these maps that if you've got a map with one of these items on it that doesn't exist, if it's on your map and you actually follow it, will it take you to that place that doesn't exist or not? That's the whole question. Are these maps real? Are their secrets real, or are they not? Is it all in your head? You know, we get a lot of family history of Nell and the hidden secrets of her families, the hidden symbols behind everything, the hidden, like I said, the hidden rooms and places that exist on these maps that the cartographers put together. Absolutely great. And it's a puzzle like that. It's just a very, very well-written, plot-driven puzzle that we got to follow as we look through these maps and try to see if the secret things, the hidden things that the cartographers have put on them, do they exist or not? Are they dead ends? Is it just a fool's game? Or can we find those places, those hidden rooms in architectural maps? Can we find them? Explore them? Will they lead us to other magical realms or not? That's kind of the whole gist of the thing. And I don't want to get into more of the plot than that, but that's where we're headed with this. I absolutely thought it was a great book. Absolutely enjoyed reading this. So, what would I give it? I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10. If you have not read Peng Shepherd yet, I think this is a great, great place to start. You know, we've lost our sense of direction as a people with GPS. We can no longer find our way around the world because we've stopped looking at maps and exploring maps. And that's kind of what the theme of this is how do we really know where we're at if we don't have that map laid out in front of us that we can actually look at and trace where we're going and where we've come from and keep that as a record of where we've been? Instead, it's just GPS and we just blindly follow it down roads that we have no clue. So this has just got a lot of deep themes running through it that I really, really enjoyed. So, I just hope everybody picks this book up, gives it a chance. It's already climbing the bestseller lists. So get on board early, folks.